For me, some of the best tips that I found that worked the best were probably taking advantage of your cohort. There's a lot of great people who are great resources for you. There's a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of variety of people that are going to be in your cohort. So it was really interesting for me to learn a concept or a theory, and you might say to yourself, okay, I'm not sure how this is going to apply to my job or to me, but then someone in your group might have a great idea or the ability to relate it to their job in a way you never thought of before.
The one thing I can recommend is to stay organized, completely organized, in your home, in your job, and in your head.
You need to decide when you're going to do your schoolwork. You need to set aside time. Is that time going to be first thing Sunday morning? Is it going to be while you're sitting in the car waiting for your son to come out of basketball practice? Is it going to be at night after the kids are in bed? You need to reserve that time in order to get your work done. And it should be the same time every week.
The easiest thing for me when I went through the RN to BSN program was to learn how to access the library database. It helped me with my research. One other tip would be also learn how to become familiar with the computer as far as doing attachments, sending emails, and stuff like that.
I would have to say the best piece of advice I've ever given any students when it comes to your homework or the work you're doing here at CUCA is to read what you write over and over again. And most of all, read what you write out loud. Oftentimes you think what you're writing on paper makes sense, but if you read it to yourself, you'll pick up things that won't sound right. And when they don't sound right, they don't read right.
As an alumni of the MSM program here at CUCA, my most helpful hint for you is to get your family support, family and friends support before you start the program.
You will find, I think, that you get work done a lot more efficiently if you have a place in your house where you always do your work, where you can leave your books open, where you can leave your work spread out on the tabletop. If you have to scurry around and find a different place to work every day or every other day, it's going to be much harder for you to just sit down and get that work done.
When I had several books to read, what I would do is use the little margins in each of the chapters and write myself notes. I would then form an outline from those notes in which to study for an exam.
There's a lot of work in the ASAP program, a lot. And if you fall behind or you start putting things off, you can fall behind very quickly. So it's very important to stay on top of things, not only for yourself, but for your group as well. A lot of the assignments that you do in the program rely on teamwork, and you don't want to fall behind and let your cohort down or your program, the people in your program or your group down either. I once heard it's an accelerated program, but it's certainly not abbreviated, so there's a lot of work involved, and so if you fall behind, you can really find yourself in trouble very quickly. So it's important to stay on top of things.
Set time aside for your family, set time aside for when you have to study, which is many, many hours, and make sure that your job doesn't interfere with going to school.
All of your instructors are willing and available to answer your questions. If you have any kind of an issue as far as an assignment, you're not clear about something, start with your instructor. Email them, call them if they've given you their telephone number, ask them in class, but don't spend a lot of time guessing or second guessing your instructor. Just ask.
As a student, you want to take the time to plan out your week. You may want to set aside 2 hours every night or an hour every night. Don't try to do it in one day on the weekend.
The other thing that I did in a lot of my courses was when I took notes, I went home and typed them up. This kind of reinforced the information that I had gained in class and then gave me the opportunity to review it when I returned home.
The third thing that you'll need, I think, at least I've found in my experience, are allies. Obvious allies are your family, people who will help you to reserve that time and space to get the work done, people who are on your side. It's also useful to have an ally at work, someone who understands that you're a student, who supports you in the work that you're doing to get your degree.
make sure you take breaks. Read a little bit, get up, move, sit back down. It's much easier to retain the material that you're reading or writing. You get fresh thoughts as you're putting them to your computer.
Take it easy, relax. There's a book called Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and on the front of it it says don't panic, and that's probably the best advice I can give you. Don't panic. Whatever your problem is, somebody else has had the same problem, and there's an answer out there. You just need to ask the right people, and we'll help you find the right people to ask.